the dark side, if you like. It's very Star Wars, right?
Yes,
There's a dark and a light to everything. But I'll tell you what I mean by this, right? The public sector, when it is serving its highest purpose, right, has scale and impact, right? Long-term impact on a very large number of people because of the reach of public policy and because of the reach of institutions. So I think that's quite core. But the public, and that's at its best, right? But at its worst, and we all have this, the public sector at its worst can be a bit slow, right? And like your friend said, they might feel a bit frustrated. It doesn't always be as welcoming to mavericks as I think it should. We need a few people in the system actually who are pushing at the boundaries. But that's the public sector. And in the private sector, actually, its great strength is its speed, right? Its agility and its constant fluidity and response to circumstances. Because it has to worry about things like making profits and making sure that revenue streams are constant. But and that's the highest purpose of the private sector. But the dark side of the private sector is that it can be very greedy sometimes, right? Taken to an extreme, it can be extremely greedy, and it can be motivated only by profit rather than these broader aims like corporate social responsibility and things like that. Then that's where you bring in civil society, right? Civil society at its best, serving its highest purpose, is actually doing the idealistic work, right? The dreaming of what can be better, which a greedy private sector entity will not always do. But civil society can also have a dark side, right? At its worst, it can be a bit narrow, focus on a specific cause, but not realizing that there are ripples and interactions, as you pointed out, right, with multiple other areas. And what's the counter for that? It's the public sector's strength, right? The scale and the reach that it actually has. So maybe I'm a bit too philosophical about this, right? But I do think that we need to recognize that all sectors actually have both this highest purpose and a dark side. And the job of each of us is we need to find a sector where its highest purpose fits with our highest purpose. And then we make sure that the dark side is minimized.
I think this should be a foundational lesson to everyone who are thinking of joining the civil service.
Yeah, or anything, right? If you want to join the media, then know what its highest purpose and what its dark side is. And the key is this, right?
Yeah.
The key, when you realize that there are these highest purposes and dark sides, for me, is very important. You cannot compare the highest purpose of one sector with the dark side of another, right? It is useless to say things like, oh, but public sector has reached, how come you are so greedy, right? Or the private sector saying, at my best, I am so fast and so responsive. How come you are so slow? It's like those are inbuilt, natural parts of what we are, and we have to know how to manage them. Yeah. So the thing that is most meaningful for me is compare the highest purpose with the highest purpose, compare the dark side with the dark side, and then find ways to manage the dark side. And then, for those who are truly innovative, as they move into the future, try and create organizations that combine all the strengths, all the highest purpose, without the dark side.
Wow.
Yeah, those are your organizations of the future, and they can be enabled by technology. They can be enabled by innovative thinking. I think it's possible, and you're seeing that somehow.